Welcome! OpenDXM GlobalX Tech Day update. What am I going to show you today? To begin with, the things that we have implemented in version 9.3. These are things like administration interface, which is now being totally migrated to the new landscape. That means the HTML5 landscape is now continuously available for administrators. Partly that already been implemented with versions 9.2, but now things like system administration together with monitoring have been fully implemented. You can also see reports that administrators like to generate in GlobalX in the new interface. That means the old interface is history with the version 9.3. The full functionality is now contained in a new interface. We're going to see that in detail in a moment. Further things we have implemented on the user side are serial reports, which had partly already been made available in the old interface. They have also been imported to the new interface so that users have the possibility to generate time-controlled reports for data exchange processes, etc. Further, security for OpenDXM GlobalX has been extended. It's a very important issue, two-factor authentication. We're going to see that in a brief live demo in a moment. In post-processing, one of the great strengths of OpenDXM GlobalX, when it's about, for instance, converting CAD data, checking it, quality authentication, etc., or preparing data in other ways, we have improved the framework, how you as an administrator can monitor such processes, and at the end you will be given a brief overview of a further child in our PDM integration family, the active workspace client for Team Center. That means from there data exchange processes, as also possible in the other PDM integration tools, can be done. Now, just a very brief outlook 2022. What are we going to do with our OpenDXM GlobalX version 9.4? Things like support for the cloud will be extended even further. We have already begun that. We have already several customer installations in cloud environments with various suppliers in operation. And of course, more and more, we want to focus on the advantages that a cloud infrastructure can offer. That is a main focus that we have on our agenda for next year. Hand in hand with that goes performance. That's not only a cloud topic, but of course in cloud infrastructure, performance can be severely improved, but also in GlobalX, in data transmission, above all when you're talking about distribution over various sites, we can create better options. And processes overall, for the user, we want to improve things. That means collaboration processes, particularly in PDM scenarios, or rules for assistance. That's what we're focusing on, and we want to see what kind of improvements we can offer the user in version 9.4 for GlobalX. Now I'd like to start offering a bit more detailed information. As already said, the administrator interface is now fully in the new interface. That means administrators only have one web interface they have to work with. You can see screenshots. That will be something for reports. They've been very well structured. KPIs, serial reports, or pre-drafted reports can be improved. You can improve the settings. We've tidied up a bit as well. These things have become more appealing. They're easier to operate. Overall, the administration function has been grouped so that things fit together by subject better. So you can be excited about this and really use the administrator interface. I really want to advertise this at this moment. We've put in a lot of effort, so make use of it. The next block I would like to look at is improvements in security. You know that OpenDXM GlobalX has been using various methods for user authentication. LDAP Active Directory can be carried out, local user administration. OpenDXM GlobalX can be coupled with OpenID Connect servers. We have the possibility to use portal authentication services as well. All of these things are possible today already. What is new is that all of these methods can be combined with a two-factor authentication, which is now fully integrated in OpenDXM GlobalX. so that the user, after a second, well, is asked for a second factor, which is required in many situations now. Think of TESAX in this context. A secure authentication is required. These days, two-factor authentication is a relatively simple solution for this. How all of this worked is now prepared in a brief demo, which of course I'd like to show you. What we are simulating here is new creation of a user in an OpenDXM GlobalX. You know today already the user has been given information by email already to begin with that his account has been set up, what his user account is called, and then he gets this email with an activation link which he simply has to click on to start OpenDXM GlobalX so that his user account can be fully registered. He has to enter his user ID in the system. He gives himself a password. That's for local user administration. Active Directory with its Windows password, for instance, would register or log in securely to the system. As the user and the password has now been allocated, a user newly classified is a user who has to authenticate himself with a second factor, then this mask. He's now requested to use the QR code generated for him to activate the two-factor authentication. For that, he takes his smartphone and uses an authenticator app available in the app shops. There are various of them, ones of them for Microsoft or Google. You can use apps which use the so-called TOTP method, which is a time-controlled single-use token generation. Now I'm going to take my smartphone, I'd scan the code, and that gives me a 6-digit number, which I can then enter into the mask so that my two-factor authentication can be activated. Now I'm in the system. This user is additionally requested to confirm the conditions of use. That's a widespread practice. He can confirm this here, and then he is released as a user in OpenDXM GlobalX. In every further login, he has to authenticate himself using the second factor. The 6-digit number code which is generated each time has to be confirmed additionally when he wants to log into GlobalX. That's what I wanted to say about two-factor authentication. As already said, that is one of the new features in OpenDXM GlobalX. Then I talked about processing. GlobalX has many strengths in CAD processing, CAD converting, check runs, quality controls, also in the context of PDM integration, renaming, for instance, CAD units. These are things which we can do in OpenDXM GlobalX in post-processing. We have so-called batch processing frameworks, BPF, with which you can carry out such processes. What is new in the now available version is that you have a web interface to monitor these processes. Up until now, these were script-based and also file-based solutions, but now we can offer that on the interface. That means in the web interface, you can track orders, you can see the status, were they successful, were they not, and if they are erroneous, then you can easily navigate to the log files and point out what the cause is for the problem. You have a desktop functionality. That means you have an overview of how healthy the system is and what my processes are doing in the background. You can do that in combination with BPF, and I would also like to advertise that as well, so that you really make use of BPF interfaces. Then, active workspace coupling, that's an important topic in my mind. A continuation of the PDM integration, which we already have in the market. In the last tech days, we showed with experience. The last tech day, it was Windchill integration. So now we have the active workspace client, so the plugin component which enables in a Teamcenter installation to put together processes and send them off, and also receive data that way. The method is just as identical as the other PDM integrations because essentially we're making use of the tools at our disposal. That means in a team database, we're putting together collections. The user puts them together, sends them off. We use our modules from the OpenPDM product family, the connectors, in order to access Team Center data, and that way processes can be illustrated in a very simple way for the user to send data from the PDM landscape. That's what I'd like to show you in a live demo now. Here in the browser, we can see a Team Center active workspace client with the functions which the application makes available. The user navigates through the system. Probably you know much more about this than I do in Active Workspace Client, how you can access your data. You can navigate using the folders you have in your system. You can use the search function. You can, at various points, access data. Of course, the application data for which you have access rights in the system, which you can use. You can see I've searched a document, I've found it, and that can be opened in the file view. All of these things are offered by Team Center. There's nothing specific for OpenDXM GlobalX here yet, but once I've selected one of these items on the right-hand side, and this is actually what we've added now, the plugin component we have, in order to create data exchange options from Team Center. Basically, that means two functions are linked. One is the possibility to put together an export collection like this. That means data can be put together in Team Center so that data can be added to this collection. Various items, item revisions can be assembled in this package. If you believe it's complete, then using this collection created, you can start the data transfer. But you also have the possibility, if it's precisely about this assembly you want to send off, then you can do that immediately. That means the data are then assembled in a collection object, analyzed, and then they are transferred to Wizard, the OpenDXM GlobalX integration. You can see a further web integration which has been opened. That's a further element in the product family, OpenDXM. It's about data exchange from PDM systems being enabled. Here, the recipient, which is released for OpenDXM GlobalX, I add that to the list. I could also select several of them in one go. I can also add a message which I would like the user or recipient of these data to receive. I can click further in Wizard. I can see the structure. That's what I've selected. A structure which I have in Team Center, various CATIA objects. In this example, then I click on Next. The integration offers the possibility to carry out check routines. That means the status of these documents you've selected can be determined once again. Are the data, for instance, of the right status so that the selected recipient can receive them? That can be checked here. We have a brief summary now. You can see which data types are sent, who does it going off to. I can see my message, and finally I hand over this transfer to OpenDXM GlobalX, and only now do we start with post-processing in the background. That means we are processing the selected package. We'd start with the export process from Team Center, and the data are transferred to OpenDXM GlobalX for them to be sent. And within processing, we send the respective feedback to Team Center. I can look at the file view now. I can see an OpenDXM GlobalX outbox in which, for instance, the newly generated collection is present. You can see when such a process has been carried out successfully, a release status is also set. That means this collection object is no longer to be changed by the user. That's for reasons of traceability. that's been done that way. This collection can also be looked at in detail so that I can see what kind of feedback I get in the system. Now, this set of data we've selected, you can see the recipient information. We have information concerning the status in this collection object, so that your data exchange processes can also be analyzed by the Teamcenter database. You can see who received or sent which data to which partner and when. That takes me to the end of my presentation. Tech Day update, OpenDXM GlobalX. What was new, a brief overview of what we're going to be doing next year. That's the cue. I hope we'll meet again next year when we're going to talk about new feature of OpenDXM GlobalX 9.4. Thank you very much.